Hello, welcome. I'm Babs Butcher from the Partynerdz. We are in SFX Studio and we are excited to be bringing you this segment brought to you by the Partynerdz. You heard that right. We're bringing you another episode every week. Make sure you're subscribed to the Partynerdz and to me, to Babs Butcher, on all our social media so you know when that new episode is going to air for you. So, as you already know, we got a lot of people who are very inspired by the Partynerdz and what they do, and we wanted to bring lovely ladies to the podcast game. We have a lot to talk about. We've got a lot of insight, secrets, behind the scenes stuff that you might not know about the cosplay and creative community in general, and we want to share that for you because I think you want to know those things, those little secrets inside our head. I have, to the right and left of me, my beautiful guests, Elena and Sarah. Elena, how are you today?
I am doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
And where can people find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at Elena_strikes. That's ELENA. And that's my primary platform. And you can find links to my other social media in my bio, in my link tree.
Yep, check out the bio. Okay, and we have Sarah over here. How are you doing, Sarah?
Hey, I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm feeling like my energy is just like getting more hyper and more creative as my day goes along, and it's also being around you too. I just like get that creative juice flowing. I don't like that I just said creative
girl.
juice.
It's mutual.
Anyway,
Get our juices flowing.
It's like saying moist.
all right.
And this is how this episode's gonna go.
Anyway, thanks for joining us. Sarah, where can people find you?
I am Sarah Chu Cosplay on Instagram. Links to all my other stuff are in my bio.
And what you might not know is we haven't been friends our entire life, though it does feel like that. We met each other in 2018, and it was just really easy to become friends with them. Not only are Sarah and Elena really professional, classy ladies, they're just funny. They're funny and they're fun to hang out with. They're easy to talk to, as you will see in this episode. We're going to talk about something that's a little bit more, we're going to tell you some things that people don't talk about enough, and a lot of people make mistakes in this, and that's how to rock a photo shoot. Yes, I'm sure we have all learned the hard way what we've done that were major no-nos, and we got in trouble, we got yelled at, we hurt some feelings, or we got our feelings hurt. There are a lot of little nuances on how to rock a photo shoot, and we want to touch on as much as we can. So, Elena, you and I were talking about what to do before. You decide you're going to go to a con or you'd like to do a location shoot with a photographer. But more specifically, if we're talking about a con, because that's usually more what people are doing, you're looking for a photographer. What would you do if someone was saying, hey, how do I find a photographer?
So I would definitely check out different people because photographers have different styles. And then once you find a photographer you think would be a good fit, reach out to them and find out about their rates.
Wait. I'm going to rewind even a little bit further. How do you find a photographer in cosplay? So what I did, I remember I would actually search the hashtag cosplay photography. Then from there, I would try to find people that were near me. God, that was hard. So then I was like, oh, no, smarter way.
I was going to say, there's no like Tinder for photographers.
I know.
So it's a little
So then I was looking at locations, and then I would, if there was cosplay in that location, then I would find the tagged photographer. That's why it's very important to tag your photographers.
I was going to say, it's really primarily word of mouth, and just seeing another cosplayer's post and seeing who the photographer is, because if you're a decent person, you are tagging your photographer and giving them credit in your post one way, either like by tagging them in the photo, mentioning them in the comment. And like I said, if you like their style, then reach out to them, find out what their rates are. That way you're fully aware of what you'd be getting into, like how many photos you're going to get, what kind of time slots do they offer.
Did you say look in their bio and see what cons they're going to and if they're accepting slots?
I did not, but that is definitely something to check out as well, because a lot of photographers do work at different cons, and that's a great way to meet them and get a feel for them and like see if they would be a good fit for you.
Yeah. So that's how you find that photographer, and you're going to that con, and you talk to them, and they say, okay, yep, I'm taking slots. I have a 1:15 on Saturday. I have 30 minutes for that slot. And like, okay, great, let's do this. What are your rates? They tell you their rates. You say, great. I can afford that for a 30-minute time slot. Do you prefer PayPal? Do you prefer cash? Do you prefer Venmo? Do you
Yes.
prefer
Mhm.
Bitcoin? Do you prefer my firstborn child? Yeah. So you find out how they want that money delivered. Please respect that. If it's cash, make sure you have
Because some of
cash.
that's their living for some of them.
Yes. Yes. Don't be insulted by the fact that uh, they want money for their work, because they're going to work hard for you. You have no idea. When you get those photos back, you're going to be so amazed. You're going to be like, this was so worth it. I would have paid you even more. This is so beautiful. There's so many
And you just have
talented
to keep in mind that they're taking time out of their day to edit your face.
Yeah.
Another
So,
thing too is find out about turnaround time. This is
yes.
definitely not a problem, but photographers get really annoyed
Yeah.
when their clients will harass them
Yes.
about when am I going to get my photos? You said this.
The
Although
best way to say it is, what is your typical turnaround time for getting photos back to your clients? That is a professional, concise way to say it. And that way, it's keeping that professional tone and keeping that communication really good. So they say, okay, uh, they say, no matter what, I take 5 weeks to get back to you. Fantastic. Understand, you're not their only client. They're working on so many other different clients. So 5 weeks, wow. And be respectful. If you're meeting them at a con, they're probably shooting at the con too. And they're
they're
taking,
probably working with like at least 10 other models.
yes, absolutely. So you're not their only client. They're shooting the con. Things are going to come up at the con too.
Life
So
happens.
life happens. So be respectful of that time. Know ahead of time and have that. Uh, if they say, okay, the con is in February, I will have your photos by end of March. Have a little thing in your calendar that is the last week of March. Just say, hi, I just wanted to touch base. No pressure. I know we talked about the end of March. Just wanted to make sure we were still on course for that turnaround time. And if not, how much time you were expecting for the turnaround time. Again, no pressure. Thank you again for working with me. That is respectful. It's not inflammatory. You're not raising their hackles and making them put their defense up. They remember that you are a nice person to work with, and they want to continue with that relationship.
And I think especially if you work with a photographer at a con, again, keep in mind that they're working with at least 10 other people. It's going to take a while.
Yeah, yeah. It
It's
just is.
it's understandable if you work with them outside of a con and they give you a time estimate and it's been maybe double that time or something. Then yeah, maybe it's like, well, what's going on? But even then, it's keep in mind they're human. Life happens, things come up. As long as you keep open communication with your photographer and not harass them, but like what you were saying, just be like, hey, just touching base. I think that is a really great way to
So
gauge that.
and that's like etiquette with your photographers, and there's even more we can touch on, but I do want to touch on during that photo shoot and then editing, like the controversy of editing and asking your photographer if these photos will be edited, or if you can have them edited in post. What was the tip that we were talking about while you're in your photo shoot, Sarah? What you can do to make sure that you like your photos.
I'd say kind of two things before you even start shooting. You want to know what like image you want, like your end result. Like, do you want real, like super cool poses, super sexy? Like, know what you want. Communicate that beforehand. Research your character if you want to emulate any of those poses. I think those are always really cool. So just do a lot of research. Plan. Don't just show up dead-eyed, be like, okay, I'm ready.
What do I do?
Yeah, what do I do? And
Oh,
have
God,
the
that's
photographer
awful.
have to direct everything. And then, as you're shooting, take a break, partial it partway through, like 25, 30% of the way through, and then check out those photos on the back of the camera and make sure that that's matching up to what you saw in your head. because the photographer wants to give you photos that you like too.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I would definitely have a situation where I was shooting my Tifa. It's a naturally kind of sexy cosplay. I wanted the photos to be sexy,
Mhm.
but then when I like saw the images, they had gone like way too far. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa! Like we need to.
Yeah.
I was
Dial it
feeling
down,
it too
dial it
much.
down.
Yeah.
Get the fire extinguisher.
Yeah, and my photographer was like, "Oh, these look great," and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Thank you, they do," but that's not what I want to post.
Yeah.
So
And yeah,
then I could adjust my
and
posing.
your two colleagues in this industry. Remember that you are professionals working together. You're not against each other. You are working towards the same goal: produce beautiful art, and you are a team. Act like a team.
Mhm.
And when you do so, you rock in the middle. Prepare your poses like Sarah was saying. And I gotta say, looking back at my poses, when you first start, if you're just starting, your poses are gonna be bad unless you're just
Oh,
naturally
yeah.
gifted. They're gonna be bad. You're gonna default to
Awkward
the
as
same thing
hell.
all the time. I still do that with some cosplays where I'm like, I know that this pose is gonna kill it, so I'm just gonna do this pose again. Um, if you go if you scroll from down to up on my feed, you watch the transformation of me getting more comfortable in my skin and in my posing. It is a journey. It's not short, and we all have been there. So, you might not be happy with your pictures at first when you're first starting out, but it's not because you're not good at it. It just means you're going to improve. And if you keep that relationship with that photographer, it's such a wonderful thing a year, 2 years later, coming back to that photographer that you were good to and you were respectful to and have a good relationship with and say, look how far we've come.
Yeah,
So
it's a learning experience.
yeah. What's your
Absolutely.
go-to pose when you're like, "Oh, I didn't prepare." Like you didn't take your own
like
advice.
general pose?
Yeah, you said you had your go-to. What's
Um,
your go-to?
Actually, I learned it from John Kim. We're always talking about John. Candid
This is
John Kim.
amazing.
Please follow him. He has been a huge part of our lives and hopefully will be soon with Sarah. Um, Fantastic photographer. He has a keen eye, and he directed me one time to do this kind of hip out. Patrick Sky cosplay told me it's my Negan pose, where I do the Negan lean. I know I can't unsee it. I'm like, okay, but it looks good though.
Oh,
What about you?
For me, it's the body twist. So
Mhm.
I will pose. It's kind of not manipulation, but it's kind of altering.
This thing.
I'm kind of like sideways, but I turn the upper half of my body towards the camera.
Yeah.
So it seems like I'm kind of 3/4 view, but I'm
Mhm.
actually just twisting the crap out of my body. But it makes me look hella thin and you
Uh-huh.
get to see my assets,
Uh-huh.
but also the front
Yes.
in a way. So it's a very, I don't want to say painful, but it is a bit of a painful
Yeah.
pose.
We're
But it
contortionists at this
looks
point.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And a lot that's something you learn over time is that you're going to be a little bit uncomfortable in some of the poses, but they're
Mhm.
going to look freaking awesome.
Yeah, and you'll get comfortable as you go along. It honestly is instinctual. What about your pose, Sarah? What's your go-to?
I have a similar twist sort of thing, but
Okay.
I don't go full frontal.
Mhm.
I like
Oh,
to-
okay.
You get, I mean, it's
Okay.
really hard to
Yeah.
go.
So I do a bit of a twist, and my like go-to when I don't know what to do is I play
Mhm.
with my wig, and I do it in so many photos, and I
Mhm.
cringe when I see it. But like the
No.
photos,
Hey,
they
feminine
look
touch.
good.
Feminine
Yeah.
touch always works.
Um,
Advertising.
I have found that I'm changing my poses up and I'm getting more adventurous. That is definitely one way to rock your photo shoot is get out of your comfort zone sometimes and say, okay, this is going to be a little bit different, but I want to try it. You will surprise yourself. Badly and in a good way and in a bad way. You'll be like, oh God, never doing that again for some of your ideas, but it keeps things fresh. It's exciting for your photographer too. And it helps you to explore what you're comfortable with and what you like and what looks good with that character. And remember that each cosplay, you're not going to be able to have that go-to pose as well.
Yes.
You're going to have to work with that cosplay and work with we all have insecurities, so make sure that you are working to make sure you feel comfortable and you
Yeah,
feel
'cause
sexy and you feel
everyone's different. Everybody looks better in certain poses.
yes.
And seriously, just stand in front of a mirror and
Mhm.
see what looks good.
Mhm.
Do some modeling for yourself. See what
Yeah.
you like. And it's like I said before, it's a learning experience.
Mhm.
The first photo shoot you're gonna do is gonna be hella awkward.
Mhm.
But you'll only go up from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And afterwards, when once you get those photos, make sure you thank that photographer. I would almost say profusely. Make sure that you are saying, this was a wonderful, like reiterate why they're great. Thank them for the things that they did like really well. Recommend them. Ask them if there's anything that they would like you to do specifically to promote them and to identify them and tag them. Um, Asking what they like is very, very important. And do not edit those photos if they did not give you permission. I learned the hard way. I am so sorry to every photographer that I did that to. I think it was two. When I first started, I had no idea, and I needed a podcast like this to tell me not to do that. So don't do it, you guys, unless you get that permission. Then, like, do it in an actual way that still looks like a human being. Well, anyway, that's our tips for how to rock a photo shoot. I hope you learned something, or at least got a good laugh at our expense at what we do for a good shot. Thank you for joining us. We have Elena underscore strikes on Instagram. We have Sarah Chu Cosplay on Instagram. And I'm Babs Butcher. Follow us three and follow the Party Nerds for more of this content. Thank you for joining us, and talk to you next week.